Hello, everybody. Uh, Today we are continuing with the masterclass on understanding transits. And I am talking about the Gati or the speeds of the planet. Speeds of the planets are very important in order to understand the transits. They are important in your natal chart analysis as well. So, this class will help you both ways because this is a speeds of the planets in transit class. Then I'm going to focus on that. Hello, I'm Komilla Sutton, and we are talking understanding transits. And this is a masterclass. And do remember to subscribe, press the bell notification. You don't want to miss any part of this masterclass. And today we are talking about the Gati of the planets. Gati means how the planets are walking, but this is also connected to the speeds of the planet. So it is really important to understand the various speeds of the planets because all planets are not going at the same speed. And therefore, some are faster moving, some are slower moving. And this class is useful on multiple levels. If you are beginners, if you are also advanced students, you want to study the uh, speed of the planet. If you are just thinking about the transits, then you need to know the speed of the planets. And when you've been following me, you see that planets have all kinds of different speeds, and they will finish a sign very quickly. So in this Gati, what we are going to concentrate on is that how long it takes a planet to cross one sign and how long it takes to orbit around the zodiac. So, different planets take different times, and then we understand the speeds and how these different speeds will impact us. So, always, when we are studying the transit of the planet, we want to know how long he's going to be there. And by knowing how long he's going to be there, it gives us the importance of how intense the transit is, how intensely we'll feel. In Vedic astrology, we have the faster moving planets. The fastest is the moon, and then Venus, Mercury, and Sun. They are similar speeds. And another aspect of Venus, Mercury, Sun are that Venus and Mercury always transiting or orbiting close to the Sun. So, wherever the Sun is at a particular time, Venus and Mercury will be in that vicinity and most likely to also get combust. Moon is the fastest moving planet. It will go through one nakshatra day, one sign in 2.5 days. Its orbit is will complete everything in 1 month. And then we have Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars is slightly slower moving because it finishes the orbit in 2 years. Finally, we have the slower moving planets, Jupiter, Rahu, Ketu, Saturn. So these slower moving planets are the one whose impact is the most. However, we cannot discount the faster moving planets. So let us explore the speed of each one of these planets, and the Gati means how does it behave. And of course, when I do separate classes on these each particular planet, there'll be a lot more information there. So let us start with the moon. Moon's Gati is he crosses one nakshatra a day in one sign in 2.5 days, and in 29 days it has completed its orbit. So it's moving fast, and moon represents our mind, so it is regarded as the most important planet to study because it's the one shows the changing quality of our mind. The sun is travels 1 degree a day. So within 30 degrees, it has crossed a sign, and it will go orbit in 1 year. So 1 year we are following the sun's transit. Sun doesn't go retrograde, moon doesn't go retrograde. So their gati is always going forward, walking forward. And that is most important to see. Now, sun and moon also represent the timing. So wherever the sun is by transit, that area of life is getting highlighted. So we are looking at that aspect, and it is focusing on that area of our life. And it is moon is the trigger planet. So when some events happen, moon has to shift to a particular place from first the sun. First the sun moves into a sign, and then moon has to play a trigger. We are not discussing that during this course, but just for you to understand how they are acting. Moon will also wax and wane. So at each transit of the moon, you have a new moon and a full moon. So you can study where the new moon is, which will be close to the sun. A full moon is opposite to the sun. So that is the aspect of the sun and moon. Then Mars. Mars has travels through one sign, takes about 2 months for it to travel through one sign. Mars will turn retrograde, and it retrogrades once every 2 years. So Mars retrograde is quite rare. It's not happening every year. And Mars will speed, it continues a normal speed, except when he goes towards retrograde. Then the speed will slow down, and then it will go for retrograde, and it will be slow, and then it goes into normal speed, and then it stops before it's about to go direct, and slows down, stations, and then goes forward. And so Mars normally will stay in one sign approximately 2 months. Sometimes you'll see it slightly less, but the sign it retrogrades in, you can think that that place it has a 6-month transit. So once every 2 years, one sign becomes dominant, and that area Mars will stay much longer. So you could say that even though Mars is a medium speed planet, you think of that aspect of your chart will have an extra flavor to it. Mercury is got the most unusual gati. And, you really need to understand it. And even when I'm doing the videos for Mercury, sometimes there's so many videos to be done, because Mercury has a very quick pace, and then he slows down when he retrogrades. And its speed is forever changing. So Mercury will stay in 1 degree. Officially, it finishes one sign in less than a month, but travels about 59 minutes a day, but it's not a regular speed. It will go too close to the sun, and it goes 6 times a year too close to the sun. Therefore, those 6 times its speed doubles up. So suddenly Mercury can be so fast and move quickly. And then it will retrograde, and then it can go in one sign for almost 3 months or 2 months, depending on each time. Each year there is a different speed of the of Mercury. And Mercury also has another rule, that it behaves like the planet it is with. So in this 1 year transit, it will aspect everything, it will conjoin with all the planets, behave differently. So I would say it is most complex to understand and keeps us on our toes. Mercury represents our analytical mind. So that is why our analytical mind is always thinking forward, backward, burning up, overdoing things. So we need something of a balance as far as Mercury is concerned. Jupiter is the slower moving planet. So normally Jupiter will stay in one sign for 1 year. And during that time, Jupiter can retrograde. However, many years you'll see that Jupiter goes into the sign, retrogrades back, to the old sign, then goes forward. So you can listen to my retrograde class. I made a class on retrograde to understand the retrograde planets. But there is that whole speed of the planet that is going, and Jupiter retrogrades for 4 months every year. And these 4 months, it will, as it goes towards retrograde, it slows down, then it stations, then it moves backwards. Then after 4 months, when it's ready to go forward, it will slow down and station and move forward. It is not every year that Jupiter will conjoin with the slower moving planets. However, with the faster moving planets, Jupiter will have a conjunction once a year, and it goes combust by the sun also once a year, because those planets catch up with Jupiter. Jupiter doesn't catch up with them. Then Venus has travels very close to the sun. It has a similar 1 degree, about 59 minutes a day traveling speed. Venus also is a rare retrograde. It only retrogrades once every 2 years. So not every year you will find Venus retrograde. Venus will go through each sign in a relatively normal speed. However, it retrogrades for 40 days. And when it retrogrades, it can stay much longer in a sign. And so sometimes you'll get Venus in Taurus or Libra, where it retrogrades own sign, or Pisces. That means we are in for a long positive spell of Venus. So we watch Venus, the retrograde time also, and the long periods of transit. So that whenever it retrogrades, it goes back to that same sign. So that is where we have to watch out for it. But Venus and Mercury are always close to the sun. So usually they'll be hanging around near the sun. When you see sun is in Aries, then Venus and Mercury can be either in Pisces, Aries, or Taurus. They don't go so much further away from that. Saturn, he's the big one. His transit, everybody watches. Saturn has multiple transits. He will have a 2.5-year transit. Wherever he is, he's restructuring you, making you pay karma. Saturn is the slowest moving planet. So he tends to travel about I think 2 minutes a day, 2 to 3 minutes a day, very little transit. And his transit takes 2.5 years to complete a sign and 29 years to complete its orbit. So he obviously becomes the most important planet, and therefore his transit is going to be very influential. And Saturn also turns retrograde once a year. And it will go over that same period. And so, for example, we are recording this class in 2021. Saturn will remain in one sign because he's slow moving. So when Saturn changes signs, it's big news. When Saturn changes nakshatra, it's big news. And where he is retrograding, that period, if you have planets under that degree where Saturn is retrograding, is also very important. And Saturn will slow down, he will station, retrograde, then once he's finished his retrograde, he slows down again, then stations and goes forward. So these are really important aspects. As astrologers, we watch Saturn. Yesterday, one of my clients said, "Oh, Saturn is stalking me." So I explained to her, it's not stalking you, but as astrologers, we will always talk about where Saturn is and what he's influencing. And it's not necessarily that he's the only transit that we watch, but in this class, I want you to be aware of all the transits. And finally, Rahu Ketu. Rahu Ketu have an unusual transit because they're both affecting 2 houses simultaneously. and they are also causing eclipses, and they tend to come into the last degree of the sign and then they go backwards to the 0 degrees. So sometimes when Rahu Ketu come into a new sign, they don't know much about it, but they're right at the most deepest portion of it. And then in the retrograde energy, they will go back. So their transit, their gati is backwards. So they don't walk forwards at all, they walk backwards only. And so they are different from other planets because the other planets will go forward, retrograde, go forward, and Sun and Moon never retrograde. So Rahu Ketu are always retrograde. And therefore we have to understand them. And they tend to stay in one sign for 18 months, and they complete the transit in 18 years. The main thing with Rahu Ketu, when they come into the signs, then we have to see when there's a new moon or full moon in the sign where Rahu Ketu are, and the eclipses, because Rahu Ketu is not just the transit and the gati but also the eclipses. Knowing the speed of the planet, the gati, the behavior pattern of the planet, this is the first thing that all of you need to know. So I shall continue with the sun's transit in the next video.